Welcome everyone to my second of hopefully many Degenesis lore drop videos. Before I start, I have to give a huge shout out to all the people who liked and commented on my last video. It is really great to see that others enjoyed my work and the positive feedback feels really freaking good. So keep those likes and comments coming because they are the fuel that powers this machine. I didn't only stare at the comments to inflate my ego, I also read them. And I saw that you wanted to see videos about Norman Thorne and Homo Geantis, also about the Mechanist, the Marauders, and Free Spirit. And I can tell you they're all on my list, but first of all, I wanted to continue with something more fundamental, as you can probably tell from the thumbnail and the title of the video. But those videos are coming, and now, enjoy. The Recombination Group. In the year 2073, Earth was struck by asteroids that destroyed nature's balance, killed millions, and threw back human development many centuries. The event was called the Eschaton. In the years prior to the disaster, humanity saw extreme technological advances in various different fields. The Recombination Group was a giant corporation famous for being the leading company in the pharmaceutical and medicinal markets. In the year 2053, genetically adapted implants and prosthetics became a reality, and the first of the so-called nanites were successfully tested. The nanites were compounds of molecules encapsulated by a fullerene shell injected into the human bloodstream that were able to cure diseases and bring humanity one step closer towards the dream of immortality. Thousands of infected individuals besieged Recombination Group's clinics, hoping for an impending cure. The board of directors secured its customers with a venture. The RG offered to deep freeze patients until the perfected compound was complete. A special nanite solution would stop intracellular crystallization and prevent the organism from taking damage. The cryostasis chambers filled up. Recombination Group scientist and futurologist Salim Mushar declared the end of the information age in the light of the company's discoveries. The transhuman era had begun. The impending cultural and societal changes were followed by the emergence of various religious sects and cults. Two esoteric figureheads emerged from this proliferation of ideologies to lead their ever-growing flock of followers. On the one hand, there was the self-proclaimed prophet Muhammad, who appeared to his followers in Mecca to preach about a giant merging of the three Abrahamic religions. The other was Recombination Group co-founder Jerome Gatrell, billionaire, visionary, brilliant orator, and televangelist who preached to his followers via streamcast about the power of the archetypes and the tarot, about free love and sadism, nationalism and anarchy, democracy and dictatorship, about a life on the fast lane, and subversion. His streamcasts made the data paths glow, illuminating the deepest recesses of the human soul. One feed alone generated thousands of interpretations, most of which were founded on Gatrell's paradoxes. Everyone felt they were onto something, a feeling of insight. Gatrell's wisdom promised freedom in an over-regulated world to those who were able to decipher the feeds and see the truth between the contradictions. Only a few years later, a new form of the AIDS virus called HIV or HIV spread from Côte d'Ivoire over Africa. People fled from the deadly virus, resulting in giant numbers of refugees all over Africa. The situation got more and more out of control, so that the news of several asteroids heading towards Earth that were discovered by the Owl telescope in Peru was widely ignored, drowned out of consciousness by the flood of reports about the ever-growing number of atrocities that resulted from the humanitarian crisis that spread across the African continent. The Recombination Group claimed to have found a cure for the virus, yet the production of the serum took much longer than expected. The reason for this slow response was revealed by whistleblower and Recombination Group co-founder Norman Thorne. Apparently, a secret project of the Recombination Group named Project Tannhäuser consumed many of the corporation's resources. On March 13, 2073, the asteroids hit Earth. The transhuman era ended in a global inferno. No efforts were able to stop the celestial bombardment. Neither the Paladin defense system against asteroids, which failed mysteriously, nor the Thor laser, designed to repel rockets, had the power to save humanity from the giant menace. Mankind never felt its inferiority more clearly than on this day. The secret project that consumed a lot of the Recombination Group's resources was their reaction to the impending apocalypse. The company prepared for the asteroid's impacts by creating large bunker facilities into which they sent their most loyal members to be put asleep in cryogenic chambers. The chambers were cleared of their former customers, and a flock of so-called guardians was recruited to maintain the machines and make sure that the frozen masters would survive their long sleep. The original plan was to reawaken the sleepers in so-called cascades in a 100-year rhythm, with the first wave being released in the year 2173. Provided with highly efficient weaponry, cybernetic tools, an army of loyal guardians, regenerative powers due to their nanite blood, and the powers of mimetic manipulation, they would conquer Earth's remains after the Great Catastrophe. The Guardians stayed in their secret bunker facilities called dispensers, spent generation after generation waiting for their masters to wake up, while they themselves were separated from the torn but recovering world outside, from the sun's warming rays of light. Only the strong brainwashing programs of the Recombination Group, which Gatrell had tested and perfected during his streamcasts, and the sealed steel doors of the bunkers were able to keep the Guardians at their task. The mimetic programming these Guardians had to endure turned most of them into dogmatic followers that would promise their own and their children's lives to the cause of Project Tannhäuser. Some managed to flee the bunkers, even before the first sleepers rose from their icy beds, but most stayed, even when the lights went out. Many of the bunker's generators failed during the decades of the Guardians' vigil, casting them into darkness, surrounded by broken machines. Darkness and deprivation took their toll on the Guardians. Generation after generation grew paler, balder. Sight became less important. When they finally stepped out of the dispensers, they had changed. They were no longer guardians of sleeping gods. They were palers. Clinging to the side of their awakened masters, they stalked the earth at night in search of more brothers and sisters trapped in broken dispensers, looking for signs of Getrell's divine plan, or even Getrell himself. But he was nowhere to be found. Days before the Eschaton, the Recombination Group sent 12 orbiters into space, probably containing some of the Recombination Group's highest-ranking members. Destination and mission are unknown. The people responsible at the spaceport in Baikonur refused to supply information. The spaceport in Baikonur, Kazakhstan, was purchased by the corporation years before the Eschaton, even though the Russian and Chinese governments tried to interfere. The cascades of sleepers were supposed to conquer the world. Every 100 years, new waves of sleepers would rise and establish more control, exchanging the ruling class consisting of sleepers from the previous cascade. Each sleeper had his or her instructions, but no single sleeper knew the entire plan. Yet they do know that something went wrong, or that something is missing, something that holds Getrell's final plan from revealing itself. They know that elements of Project Tannhäuser were attacked and even destroyed by the 2 to the power of 16 virus that appeared before the Eschaton and infected big parts of the stream. Among the elements attacked were Recombination Group bunkers, the dispensers, and orbiters shut into space before the Eschaton. Even though the sleepers of Project Tannhäuser are far superior to the average person in the world of Degenesis, they are in great danger. Their nanite blood has made them targets of the Marauders, legendary, almost mythical figures in the world of Degenesis. The Marauders hunt the sleepers to milk their blood, which they call ambrosia, and which they apparently need to prolong their already unnaturally long lives. Throughout the years after the Eschaton, the sleepers of Project Tannhäuser encountered sleepers with strange gear, who seemed to be connected to the city of Exalt. These sleepers are part of a secret Recombination Group project called Freigeist, or Free Spirit. These Free Spirit sleepers have undergone an entirely different mimetic conditioning and follow a different mission than their Tannhäuser siblings. Project Free Spirit was Getrell's Plan B and deserves its own video for sure, connecting it to the city of Exalt and the mystery of the Grindworks labyrinth beneath it. Jerome Getrell was impressed by Jehammet and probably supported him in his quest of founding a new religion. From the second transmission of Jehammet, we know that Jehammet disappeared into hiding before the Eschaton after he donated billions of dollars, probably including money from Recombination Group profits, to his followers. The nature of the relationship between Jerome Gatrell and the prophet Muhammad, and how it developed until the day of the Eschaton, is not entirely clear. But we know that Muhammad tried to escape Gatrell's clutches by killing himself before the asteroids hit Earth. Gatrell's streamcasts from before the Eschaton led to the emergence of a cult called the Apocalyptic Sect, who followed Gatrell's teachings and his tarot. The sect was responsible for terrorist attacks before the Eschaton and still exists as one of the playable cults in the game. In the founding days of Justitian, when the central cluster was on the rise, the static stream of the chroniclers continuously spat out the same combination of symbols. It was the result of a long process. The databases were fed with information detailing the personalities of the residents of Justitian. From the existing data sets, the chroniclers obtained a nationwide network of all existing personality patterns in the population of Justitian. The static stream reproduced the same series of 22 symbols. It was multiplied 1 million times and covered all existing citizen databases. Every single person could be assigned to one of the signs. The Apocalyptics used the same characters in their tarot. All major arcana resembled the stream code to a T. The Mohammedan Delilah, Eris, finds the same 22 symbols on an ancient Mohammedan scroll, which she steals from her shepherd before leaving her tribe as an outcast. It seems that Gatrell's memetics have influenced at least 2 of the cults in the world of Degenesis ideologically. We know the names of 9 board members of the Recombination Group, shown in this picture. There is Norman Thorne, who appeared as a whistleblower about Project Tannhäuser. He was sent to Cairo in search of the Prophet Muhammad, who disappeared after his speech in Mecca. In Cairo, Thorne vanishes as well. Salim Mushar, visionary and futurologist who worked on nanites and cybernetics and declared the end of the information age. Viktor Karminov. He was the head of investment and fundings of Project Tannhäuser. He was very critical of Muhammad when the self-proclaimed prophet joined the Recombination Group's board of members. There's Jerome Gatrell, co-founder of the Recombination Group. Then there is the woman, only known as Y, apparently a lover of Jerome Gatrell, who endeavored to find immortality. She played a major role in the apocalyptic sect before the Eschaton. Nathan Argyle. He is described as Britain's most acclaimed researcher in the field of coma treatment and brainwave manipulation. Apparently, he studied the field of memetics before joining the Recombination Group. Muhammad, the self-proclaimed prophet who merged the 3 Abrahamic religions and apparently was made a board member of the Recombination Group by Gatrell. As mentioned before, he disappeared after his speech in Mecca. Nikolai Gusev apparently was a researcher of nanite-supported stasis or sleep. He presented his findings during a Recombination Group think tank meeting. Christine Esperson. she was responsible for the construction of star orbiters. Apparently, the former Recombination Group board members have been betrayed by Getrell somehow. How exactly they were betrayed is not clear, but the betrayal is apparently connected to a project of Viktor Kamenov's brother, Nikita, who invented a form of implantable transponder that would be able to manipulate a person's behavior. The betrayal is also most probably connected to the nanite blood, ambrosia. I will not speculate about this betrayal any further at this point, but instead will stick to the known facts of the story. Many of the RG's former board members reappeared after the Eschaton as the Marauders mentioned before. And yes, they need their own video. We know that Jerome Getrell is on board the Minerva Orbiter station, which was sent into space mere days before the Eschaton from the space station in Baikonur. He is most probably in a cryochamber, surrounded by other sleepers who received a special nanite treatment. The bodies of the few people Getrell saw fit to serve as his nanite clones were submerged in nanite gas, their genetic identity completely destroyed and reshaped by the aggressive treatment. Their organs decayed as they germinated from anew out of the nanite condensate, robust, sublime, and genetically identical to those of Getrell himself. Getrell waits for his return to Earth, which he planned to make 1,000 years after the Eschaton. Enough time for his plan to unfold. Alright people, I'm done. A big juicy pile of lore has been dropped, and there are not that many open questions I can pose, except one. What the hell is up with Jahamet? What role does he play in the whole Tannhäuser versus Free Spirit plan? And what about his will, the mysterious artifact? Hopefully, these questions can and will be answered in the following videos. If you have more questions, or if I have made some horrible mistake in researching this whole thing, please comment below and tell me. I hope you have enjoyed my video, and now I hope you have a great one. See you soon.